Thank you, fathers. I'm Thomas. I'm a senior here at CUA. And one topic that I wish that you had touched on a little bit is the homosexual nature to the scandal. And because the church is very clear that anybody with a deeply seated homosexual tendency should not be admitted to the priesthood, should not be ordained. And just could you speak to what led to men with homosexual tendencies being ordained and what the church has done to respond to that?
Sure, you have to get it from Emmaus Road Publishing. Why celibacy? The father. No, it is such an important thing, and one always has to begin addressing this question by saying the church is understanding, because not everyone understands this, of how the church perceives her sons and daughters who struggle with same-sex attraction, and that they are called to the same degree of holiness as the rest of us. They're called to become great saints, and oftentimes that struggle of carrying that cross of same-sex attraction, of homosexuality, can itself be, when it's carried generously, can be a beautiful kind of vehicle towards that holiness. Having said that, those men are not called to be priests, right? When we're talking about a deep-seated same-sex attraction, the church has said this over and over and over again. Most recently by Pope Francis in his 2016 Ratio Fundamentalis, which is really the beginning of kind of the next sort of iteration of these documents talking about how to do seminary formation. And we don't want to maybe get way late on all the reasons why and wherefore, but I would say this fundamentally, that if a priest is primarily a spiritual father, that the well-ordered desire for a wife and children is an indispensable precondition for God taking that healthy desire and raising it to a supernatural level and saying that you're going to employ those same desires, and you're going to do so for my family. You're going to be a husband to my church, and you're going to be a father to my own children, right? And that understanding of giving oneself in that way, I think, has to be well rooted. The speculation, so how we got into the mess we're in, because without a doubt, the numbers are very, very clear that the sexual abuse crisis has been primarily one not of a small child abuse, but of young men. That's just there, right? And no one can argue with those numbers. And so while obviously I'm sure that the vast majority of men who have been ordained with same-sex attraction have never done anything bad like that and have been very faithful, it does not work conversely, right? The vast majority of the abuse has been done by individuals with this. I believe that there are particular struggles and challenges. I think the evil one takes advantage of that particular struggle in this way to kind of get them off course, and that can happen more easily. I think it's not fair, certainly to the people of God. It's not fair to the man himself, I think, to admit someone with deep-seated same-sex attraction or to ordain him, to the priesthood. And I think we've seen the devastating legacy of that. And the fact that it is still sometimes being touted as an important qualification, that there are certain gifts that men with this struggle have, that we need to be ordaining them. It obviously enrages me, because how many young men have to be hurt, before we listen to the church and what she said about the need for making sure that we have men with healthy sexual drives to be ordained. Because it's not about, it's for the people of God. That the priesthood doesn't exist for me. The priesthood exists for the people that I'm called to serve. And I'm called to do that as a spiritual father. So yeah, I think it's a great question. It's an important point. There's obviously way more to it than that. But I think that might just be sort of the contours. The rest you have to read in the book. That's right.